Most people think love is about chasing attention, chasing validation, chasing someone to finally choose them. But emotionally mature women understand something different. The moment you start chasing, you stop choosing yourself. A mature woman doesn't beg for love. She doesn't force connection. And she definitely doesn't lose her identity trying to keep someone interested. Because real power is not found in desperation. It's found in self-respect, in emotional control, in the confidence to walk away from anything that disturbs your peace. See, the women who truly win in life and relationships are not always the loudest, the most beautiful, or the most perfect. They are the ones who know their worth without needing the world to constantly remind them. And in this speech, we're going to talk about why emotionally mature women attract more by chasing less, why their calm energy feels magnetic, and how mastering your emotions can completely transform the way people see you and the way you see yourself. People who constantly seek validation from others slowly lose connection with themselves. They begin shaping their decisions around approval instead of truth. They wait for compliments to feel beautiful. They wait for attention to feel valuable. They wait for someone else to tell them they matter before they allow themselves to believe it. And over time, this creates emotional dependence that drains confidence from the inside out. Emotionally mature women understand that validation from the outside is temporary. One compliment can make you feel good for a moment, but if your self-worth depends on other people, then your confidence becomes unstable. The opinions of others will control your emotions. A text message can change your mood. Silence can make you overthink. Rejection can make you question your value. This is why emotional maturity begins with learning how to validate yourself first. A mature woman does not need constant reassurance to feel secure. She knows who she is even when nobody is clapping for her. She understands her worth without needing to announce it. And because of that, her energy feels calm, grounded, and powerful. She stops trying to impress everyone around her because she no longer needs permission to feel enough. Many people confuse validation with love. They think if someone gives them attention, it means they are important. But attention is not always respect, and approval is not always genuine connection. Some people will praise you only when you make them comfortable. Some will support you only when you stay small. If your identity depends on pleasing everyone, you will spend your entire life performing instead of living honestly. Emotionally mature women become attractive because they stop chasing approval. They are not obsessed with being liked by everyone. They are focused on being real with themselves. That changes the way they speak, the way they carry themselves, and the way they handle relationships. They stop forcing conversations. They stop over-explaining their value. They stop begging people to understand them. Their confidence comes from inner stability, not external reactions. There is something deeply powerful about a woman who can sit alone without feeling incomplete. A woman who does not panic when people misunderstand her. A woman who can hear criticism without collapsing emotionally. That kind of strength cannot be faked because it is built through self-awareness and emotional discipline. Seeking validation often begins with fear. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough. And when fear controls your behavior, you start shrinking yourself to keep people around. You say yes when you want to say no. You tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of losing connection. You become emotionally exhausted trying to maintain an image that keeps others happy. But emotionally mature women realize something important. The more you seek validation, the more power you hand over to other people. And the moment your happiness depends on someone else's approval, you lose emotional freedom. Peace is one of the most valuable things a person can protect. Yet many people sacrifice it too easily for attention, relationships, and temporary emotions. Emotionally mature women understand that peace is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is a form of emotional intelligence that allows them to protect their mental and emotional well-being from unnecessary chaos. There comes a point in life when constant drama stops feeling exciting and starts feeling exhausting. Mature women recognize this shift. They no longer feel the need to respond to every argument, explain themselves to every critic, or prove their worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. They realize that not every battle deserves their energy. Protecting your peace means learning how to set emotional boundaries without guilt. It means understanding that access to your energy is a privilege, not a right. Some people enter your life carrying confusion, negativity, manipulation, and emotional instability. If you are not careful, their chaos slowly becomes your chaos. Emotionally mature women become selective about who they allow close because they know the wrong environment can damage even the strongest mind. A peaceful woman does not react impulsively to everything around her. She learns how to pause before responding. She chooses emotional control over emotional explosions. While others are consumed by anger and drama, she remains centered because she understands that peace is power. Losing control of your emotions in every difficult moment only gives situations more power over you. Many people think protecting your peace means avoiding hard conversations, but true emotional maturity is different. Mature women can communicate clearly without becoming destructive. They know how to express disappointment without disrespect. They know how to walk away from toxic situations without creating unnecessary conflict. Their silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is discipline. Protecting your peace also means becoming comfortable with disappointing people. Not everyone will like your boundaries. Some people only appreciate you when you constantly sacrifice yourself for them. The moment you start saying no, protecting your time, or choosing your own well-being, they may call you selfish or distant. Emotionally mature women understand that setting boundaries often reveals who benefited from their lack of boundaries in the first place. There is a different kind of beauty in a woman who refuses to let negativity consume her mind. She no longer spends hours overthinking every opinion or replaying every conflict in her head. She becomes intentional about what she watches, who she talks to, and what environments she allows into her life. She understands that peace is not something you find accidentally. It is something you protect through daily choices. A mature woman also knows that peace sometimes requires distance. Distance from toxic friendships. Distance from emotionally draining relationships. A distance from situations that constantly force her to betray herself. She stops romanticizing suffering and starts choosing environments that support her growth instead of destroying her emotional stability. When a woman protects her peace, her entire energy changes. She becomes calmer, clearer, and emotionally stronger. She no longer chases chaos disguised as passion. She no longer confuses emotional instability with love. Her standards rise because she understands that inner peace is too expensive to trade for temporary attention or unhealthy attachment. Most people believe power is about control over others, but emotional maturity teaches something very different. Real power is control over yourself. Anyone can react with anger, raise their voice, or let emotions take over in difficult moments. But staying calm under pressure, thinking clearly during conflict, and responding with discipline instead of impulse requires a much deeper kind of strength. Emotionally mature women understand that emotions are not the enemy. Emotions are natural, human, and necessary. The problem begins when emotions start controlling decisions. A person who cannot manage their emotions becomes vulnerable to manipulation, stress, and emotional instability. Their mood changes based on other people's behavior. Their reactions become unpredictable. Their peace disappears because they allow every situation to enter their mind and take control. A mature woman feels emotions deeply, but she does not allow emotions to rule her life. She understands the difference between feeling something and acting on every feeling immediately. Just because you are angry does not mean you must explode. Just because you feel rejected does not mean you must chase validation. Just because you feel hurt does not mean you must lose your dignity trying to be understood. Emotional control creates stability. It allows a woman to think clearly even during emotional moments. While others panic, she observes. While others react impulsively, she pauses. This ability to remain centered changes the way people experience her energy. Calmness in difficult situations often feels more powerful than aggression because it shows self-mastery. Many people lose opportunities, relationships, and respect because they cannot control temporary emotions. One emotional reaction can destroy trust built over years. One impulsive decision can create damage that lasts for a long time. Emotionally mature women recognize this, so they learn the importance of patience, awareness, and emotional discipline. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. Emotional control is not emotional suppression. Mature women still express themselves honestly. They still feel sadness, disappointment, frustration, and pain. But they choose healthy ways to process those emotions instead of allowing emotions to destroy their peace or their relationships. A woman with emotional control does not need to win every argument. She does not need to prove herself in every conversation. She understands that maturity is knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to walk away completely. She refuses to let temporary emotions push her into behavior that does not align with her values. Emotional control also protects self-respect. When emotions become uncontrollable, people often beg for attention, overreact to rejection, or tolerate disrespect out of fear of losing connection. Mature women recognize these patterns within themselves and work to break them. They stop allowing loneliness, insecurity, or anger to make decisions for them. There is something naturally attractive about emotional stability. In a world filled with chaos, inconsistency, and emotional confusion, calm energy stands out. A woman who can handle pressure without collapsing emotionally becomes unforgettable because her strength feels genuine. She does not create unnecessary drama to feel important. She does not manipulate emotions to gain attention. Her confidence comes from inner balance, not emotional chaos. Emotionally mature women know that every emotion carries energy, and how they manage that energy shapes the quality of their lives. Instead of allowing emotions to control their direction, they learn how to guide their emotions with awareness, discipline, and self-respect. Self-respect changes the way a woman carries herself, the way she speaks, and the way people treat her. It creates a quiet confidence that cannot be copied because it comes from knowing your value without needing constant approval from others. Emotionally mature women understand that attraction is not built only on appearance or charm. True attraction begins with the way a person sees themselves. A woman with self-respect does not beg for attention, chase people who ignore her, or tolerate behavior that destroys her dignity. She understands that when you constantly lower your standards to keep someone interested, you slowly teach people that your boundaries do not matter. Over time, this creates relationships where respect disappears and emotional exhaustion takes its place. Many people confuse love with sacrifice, but emotional maturity teaches balance. A mature woman can love deeply without abandoning herself in the process. She does not lose her identity trying to become what everyone else wants. She knows that constantly seeking validation by pleasing others only creates insecurity and resentment. Self-respect affects every decision. It influences who you allow into your life, what behavior you tolerate, and how you respond when someone disrespects you. Women who lack self-respect often stay in situations that damage their emotional well-being because they fear loneliness more than unhappiness. They accept half-hearted effort, broken promises, and inconsistent treatment because they do not fully believe they deserve better. Emotionally mature women think differently. They understand that being alone is far more peaceful than constantly feeling unwanted, ignored, or emotionally drained. They stop forcing connections that no longer feel healthy. They stop chasing people who only value them when it is convenient. Their standards rise because their self-worth rises. A woman with self-respect also becomes more emotionally independent. She no longer depends on relationships to define her value. She enjoys connection, but she does not lose herself inside it. Her happiness is not entirely controlled by another person's attention or approval. Because of this, her energy feels stronger and more balanced. There is something naturally attractive about a woman who knows when to walk away. Not out of pride or ego, but out of self-awareness. She understands that staying in situations that constantly hurt her will eventually damage her confidence and emotional health. Instead of begging for the bare minimum, she chooses herself. Self-respect also changes communication. Mature women stop over-explaining themselves to people who refuse to understand them. They stop arguing endlessly to prove their worth. They learn that real respect cannot be forced through desperation or emotional pressure. People either value your presence or they do not. A woman who respects herself also takes responsibility for her own growth. She does not blame everyone else for her emotional pain while repeating the same unhealthy patterns. She becomes more aware of what she deserves and more disciplined about protecting it. This inner discipline creates emotional strength that others can feel immediately. Attraction is deeply connected to energy, and self-respect creates a grounded, confident energy that stands out. People are naturally drawn to those who value themselves because confidence without arrogance feels rare. A mature woman does not need to loudly announce her worth. Her boundaries, her standards, and her calm presence speak for her. One of the clearest signs of emotional maturity is the ability to walk away from situations that no longer bring respect, peace, or emotional stability. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships, toxic environments, and painful situations simply because they are afraid of losing connection. Fear of loneliness often becomes stronger than self-respect. Emotionally mature women learn how to break that pattern. Walking away confidently does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop sacrificing your mental and emotional well-being for people who refuse to value it. A mature woman understands that not every relationship is meant to last forever, and not every person deserves unlimited access to her energy. Some connections become emotionally draining, manipulative, or destructive over time. Staying too long in those situations slowly damages confidence and inner peace. Many people confuse attachment with love. They continue chasing relationships that constantly hurt them because they believe holding on proves loyalty. But emotional maturity teaches something deeper. Real strength is knowing when holding on is destroying you more than letting go ever could. Walking away requires courage because it forces you to face uncertainty. It forces you to choose your dignity over temporary comfort. Emotionally immature people often stay where they are tolerated because they fear starting over. Mature women understand that staying in a place where they feel unseen, disrespected, or emotionally exhausted will never lead to real happiness. There is a powerful shift that happens when a woman realizes she no longer needs to beg for consistency, affection, or respect. She stops trying to convince people to treat her better. She stops over-explaining her feelings to those who repeatedly ignore them. Instead of chasing understanding, she begins choosing distance. Walking away confidently also means understanding your own value. A woman who knows her worth does not remain in situations where she constantly feels emotionally unsafe. She recognizes red flags earlier. She pays attention to patterns instead of empty words. She understands that apologies without change eventually become manipulation. Many people remain trapped in toxic cycles because they confuse emotional intensity with genuine connection. They believe love should always feel dramatic, painful, or unstable. Emotionally mature women stop romanticizing suffering. They realize healthy relationships should bring clarity, respect, honesty, and emotional safety instead of constant confusion. A confident woman does not threaten to leave every time conflict appears. Emotional maturity is not avoidance. Mature women can communicate openly and work through problems when mutual respect exists. But when disrespect becomes repetitive and unhealthy patterns continue despite communication, they understand the importance of protecting themselves by leaving. Walking away also strengthens self-trust. Every time a woman chooses herself, instead of tolerating disrespect, her confidence grows stronger. She begins proving to herself that her standards are real and that her boundaries matter. This creates emotional independence because she no longer feels trapped by fear of abandonment. There is something deeply attractive about a woman who can leave without creating chaos. She does not need revenge to heal. She does not destroy herself trying to hold on to people who already decided not to value her properly. Her strength comes from emotional control, self-awareness, and the ability to move forward with dignity. Emotionally mature women understand that every time they walk away from what damages them, they create space for healthier experiences, stronger self-respect, and a more peaceful life. Emotionally mature women understand the difference between choosing and chasing. Chasing comes from fear, insecurity, and emotional dependence. Choosing comes from confidence, self-awareness, and emotional stability. This difference changes the entire way a woman approaches relationships, attention, and connection. Women who constantly chase often believe they must prove their value to be loved. They overextend themselves emotionally, tolerate inconsistent behavior, and ignore red flags because they are afraid of losing someone's attention. Their happiness becomes dependent on being chosen by another person. Over time, this creates emotional exhaustion because no amount of effort can create real connection with someone who is unwilling to value you properly. Mature women think differently. They understand that love and respect should not require constant chasing. They know that healthy relationships are built through mutual effort, not desperation. Instead of trying to force connection, they observe how people show up naturally. They pay attention to actions instead of empty promises. Choosing means understanding that you also have standards, boundaries, and emotional needs that matter. Emotionally mature women do not place themselves beneath others just to keep relationships alive. They recognize that constantly chasing someone often destroys self-respect and creates unhealthy emotional imbalance. There is a major emotional shift that happens when a woman stops asking, "How do I make someone choose me?" and starts asking, "Does this person truly deserve access to my energy, loyalty, and time?" That shift changes everything. Instead of operating from insecurity, she begins operating from self-worth. Women who choose instead of chase become more emotionally grounded. They stop overanalyzing every text message, every delay, and every moment of silence. They stop trying to control how others feel about them because they realize they cannot force genuine interest or emotional maturity from another person. This gives them peace because their identity is no longer tied to external validation. Emotionally mature women also understand that attraction grows stronger when energy is balanced. Desperation pushes people away because it often carries fear and emotional pressure. Confidence, on the other hand, creates calmness and emotional stability. A woman who values herself does not need to constantly seek reassurance because her confidence comes from within. Choosing also requires emotional discipline. It means being willing to walk away from situations that only offer temporary attention without genuine respect. It means refusing to settle for inconsistency just because loneliness feels uncomfortable. Mature women learn that loneliness is temporary, but losing yourself trying to hold on to the wrong people creates much deeper emotional damage. Many people stay trapped in chasing behavior because they fear rejection. They believe rejection means they are not enough. Emotionally mature women understand that rejection is often redirection, not proof of worthlessness. And not every connection is meant to work, and forcing relationships usually creates more pain than peace. A woman who chooses instead of chases becomes more selective with her emotional energy. She no longer gives endless effort to people who provide the bare minimum in return. She becomes patient enough to wait for relationships that feel healthy, mutual, and emotionally safe. This energy naturally becomes magnetic because it reflects self-respect and emotional confidence. People are drawn to those who are secure within themselves. Mature women do not need to compete for attention or beg for love because their presence already carries quiet strength, emotional balance, and inner certainty. True magnetic energy does not come from appearance, status, or loud confidence. It comes from inner stability, emotional awareness, and self-respect that is deeply rooted within a person. Emotionally mature women understand that real attraction is not something you chase or force. It is something that naturally develops when a person becomes aligned with themselves on a deeper level. Inner confidence is different from external confidence. External confidence depends on validation, complements attention and reactions from others. It rises when people appreciate you and falls when they ignore you. Inner confidence, however, remains steady regardless of outside circumstances. It is built through self-understanding, emotional control, and the ability to stand firm in your own identity even when others do not understand you. Emotionally mature women are not dependent on approval to feel worthy. They do not constantly look for reassurance to feel secure in their identity. Instead, they trust their own judgment, values, and decisions. This creates a calm and grounded presence that feels naturally attractive to others. People can sense when someone is not easily shaken by external opinions, and that stability creates respect and curiosity. Inner confidence also means being comfortable with who you are without needing to perform for acceptance. Many people try to impress others by changing their personality, hiding their flaws, or pretending to be someone they are not. But emotionally mature women stop performing. They accept themselves fully, including their strengths and imperfections. This acceptance removes the pressure to constantly prove worth, which creates emotional freedom. A woman with inner confidence does not compete for attention. She does not feel threatened by other people's success, beauty, or achievements. Instead, she is focused on her own growth and self-development. This mindset allows her to move through life without insecurity controlling her actions. She does not compare herself constantly because she understands that comparison weakens self-esteem and distorts self-perception. Magnetism comes from authenticity. When a woman is honest with herself, she naturally becomes more real in how she interacts with others. She speaks with clarity, listens without insecurity, and expresses herself without fear of judgment. People are drawn to this type of energy because it feels genuine and rare in a world where many people are trying too hard to be accepted. Inner confidence also affects emotional reactions. A mature woman does not become easily triggered by every comment, misunderstanding, or disagreement. She has enough emotional stability to pause, reflect, and respond calmly instead of reacting impulsively. This emotional balance creates a strong presence that feels both safe and powerful. There is also a quiet strength in women who are not easily affected by rejection or criticism. Instead of internalizing negativity, they filter it through self-awareness. They understand that not every opinion defines their worth. This allows them to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. When inner confidence becomes stable, a woman's entire energy changes. She no longer feels the need to force attraction, chase validation, or prove her worth. Her presence becomes enough. She does not need loud actions to be noticed because her calmness, clarity, and emotional strength naturally stand out in any environment she enters.